Okay. Now let's have a little bit of fun. Fani Willis. She has been collecting L's. There's been a lot of L's under Fani Willis's Christmas tree this year. So she got kicked off the Trump interference case. She's appealing that. Now she was informed just a couple days ago by Judge Ingram here in Fulton County that she does need to respond to subpoenas. So let's bring in this article real quick. And let's check it out. And I'm going to use shout out to Black Conservative Perspective. He had a really good summary of it. I thought it was fun, so we're going to look at his. Also, I didn't have time to do my own video today. Sorry. Let's bring it in. Let's go. That's much better. Let's go.
Right now, we are learning much more about the Georgia State Senate and about its ability to subpoena Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis in regards to her prosecution of President-elect Donald Trump.
The Fulton County Superior Court judge making that ruling. It comes as part of the ongoing effort to look into possible misconduct by the DA. 11 Alive's Erica Murphy joining us live in studio with a look at the latest developments and what comes next here. So, Erica, is this another setback for Willis?
Well, it's been an ongoing battle for Fulton County DA Fani Willis. First, the Court of Appeals ruled that she's disqualified from leading the election interference case against President-elect Donald Trump and his co-defendants. And now a Fulton County judge has ruled that Willis can be subpoenaed by the Georgia Senate. The ruling was issued today by Fulton County Superior Court Judge Judge Ingram after lawyers for the Senate sought to compel Willis to comply with the Senate's request earlier this year to come testify before them as they look into whether or not Willis is guilty of misconduct. That misconduct allegations stem from her personal relationship with former special prosecutor Nathan Wade. A lawyer for Willis tells the Associated Press that she plans to appeal this decision with the Georgia Supreme Court, in part because some of the documentation she's been asked to turn over to the Senate is confidential and could possibly compromise the election interference case.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. So we got to talk about a judge delivering another devastating blow to Fani Willis. And at this point, Fani Willis is just taking L after L after L after L after L. And it's all because she let Nathan Hot Dog Wade clap her cheeks while hiring him to go after her political opponent, which is clearly a conflict of interest. Okay. And she could not overcome this conflict of interest ultimately because she got removed from the Trump RICO case. And that case is basically all but over because it is unlikely that another DA's office is going to take over Fani Willis's sloppy seconds. And hilarious part about all this is that it happened due to Fani Willis's massive ego and her obsession with vitamin BBC. Okay, I mean, that's essentially what it comes down to. Because if it wasn't for her obsession with Nathan's hot dogs, she would not have put herself in this situation. And when she put herself in this situation, she could have still saved the case. And the case probably could have went to trial before the election had she chosen to not be a part of the case, to recuse herself from the case when the Trump team initially brought up the conflict, right? When that first started to happen, a lot of Democrats were telling Fani Willis, hey, you might want to step aside, right? Because if this thing gets caught up in the courts over these impropriety allegations, then you're going to put the case in jeopardy, right? And the whole point was to have Trump convicted before the election. That was the whole point.
And let's just stop for a second, because remember, the word for the day is accountability. And there's instances where we have to say, okay, I am going to make a decision, self-regulate myself. I am going to self-discipline myself because for the betterment of whatever the mission is. So do a quick example. If somebody were, driving a car and they felt like I had 2 drinks, I'm feeling okay, but I might not be all right. Plus it's late at night. There's a lot of cops out here because we're in a college town. You know what? For the good of everybody, let me go ahead and call an Uber, or let me give somebody else the keys. That's just making self-actualized decision making. Now, I do understand that usually that decision making is inhibited when one is has taken in some spirits, but let's just call a spade a spade. Fani Willis was drunk on power. She was drunk on the fact that she planned to bring down Donald Trump. I mean, we'll look at the video a little bit later where she says, these people don't even have the power to do that. They're not even legally able to do subpoena me. Like, that's crazy. Like, she's above the law, or she rather thought she was above the law. But I digress. Let's go.
Okay. Now that Trump is back in office, it kind of defeats the point, right? At this point, nobody really cares about this case anymore. But Fannie Pack just not going to give up, right? Just like apparently she hasn't given up on getting her cheeks clapped by Nathan Wade, despite these severe consequences, right? She's still running around with a boy toy, okay, despite claiming that she's not in a relationship with him, but clearly she is, and clearly that's something that she lied about. But she wasn't going to give up, okay, because just a few weeks before the appeals court ultimately disqualified her from the case, she was saying how she would be willing to wait another 4 years for the opportunity to go after Trump and to potentially throw him in jail. That's what she said. She said she was willing to wait.
The other big hallmark case, obviously, is still also ongoing. So tell me what you can about it. But, you know, with the reelection of now President-elect Donald Trump, he was also at the center of the election indictment. What do you do now? Because we've got this Supreme Court precedent now that says sitting presidents really can't be charged for some of the things that they did in office. With him now having the protection of the White House, how do you proceed as it relates to just his portion of this case?
I'm not going to talk to you about a case. Let me talk to you about a young lawyer and a lawyer that's got a little age on her. When I became a lawyer, I believe that all the smartest people were the judges, right? That's who rose to the top. I've been a little disheartened as I've gone on to practice law. But what I can tell you about me as a district attorney, I didn't indict anyone who I did not believe committed a crime in any case. And all of our more serious felony cases were indicted because a grand jury decided that there was enough evidence there to indict them.
So just following again, the word for the day is accountability. The word for the day is self-actualization, self-reflection. If it's true that the grand jury saw the facts and the grand jury said, yes, throw that guy in jail or bring that guy in here to stand his day in court. And if in fact your case was that solid, Fani, then what would be the issue with saying, okay, I and Nathan have ruined this case for Fulton County. Let's send it to Bibbs County. I and Nathan ruined it. Let's send it up to Gwinnett or Cobb County or wherever. That they should be able to see the exact same thing that you saw. I would think, right? Why are you not doing that? Now I do understand there's a level of self-aggrandizement. There's a level of self-importance. There's a level of all of that in ego that comes into it. But those things have now sunk this case. Because this case could have been passed off to Cobb County literally last spring when all of this foolishness started back in February. And then it could have gone another direction. Sure, you would not have been able to be the one, but if justice is what you were seeking, why are you the one that's worried about metering out the justice? I'm just saying. Just wondering.
And so it is our plan, if someone has an indictment in this office, no matter who they are, we continue to pursue those charges. I can't be responsible for what judges and what courts will do. That will be decisions that they make. But I hope we get to see a little courage in leaders.
What about no matter how long it takes? Is that something that you think about too?
I'm patient. That's what age teaches you, is patience. I've been patient in the way we do our work. And, I'm here for 8 more years is my plan. And so if that's what it takes for us to get justice in some cases, we come to work every day. We'll come to work.
Yeah, so you see, now you heard that. Now, Fani Willis ultimately was kicked off of the Trump RICO case. Okay, so she no longer has the option of waiting 4 years to go after Trump, right? She has been disqualified. That case is likely over. However, that doesn't mean that Fani Willis's legal troubles are over. In fact, her legal troubles may just be beginning, okay? Because we still have to answer questions about her conduct or misconduct as DA, as the prosecutor in this case going after the former president, okay? There's a lot of questions about whether or not she lied under oath in regards to the beginning of her relationship with Nathan Wade. And also there's questions about whether or not there was coordination between her team, including Nathan Wade, okay, who was clapping her cheeks at the time, and the Biden-Harris White House.
And today asked Merchant whether she had reason to believe that Willis or Nathan Wade were coordinating with the Biden White House over the course of the Trump investigation. Listen.
Open records for the White House access. And we had records that Ms. Willis and the mayor of Atlanta were at meeting with the vice president.
Fani Willis and Nathan Wade have testified that they did not become romantically involved until after she hired him to help investigate the Trump case in November of 2021. But as you heard from Ashley Merchant's testimony earlier today, the defense is alleging that the romance started much earlier than that. Harris?
So, Jonathan, I just want to get this straight because I've got a former U.S. attorney coming up next. I want to make sure I have my facts straight. What was the deal with the meeting at the White House? Did you say the Vice President Kamala Harris?
Said that several people were meeting at the White House. Of course, the nature of that meeting was not expressed. It could have been some Democratic event or a social event.
Who was in it?
But the implication that they're trying to get at was that allegedly there may have been some coordination with this case, but they don't have any hard evidence of that at this point because the receipts, and this is something that Ashley Merchant pointed out, that Nathan Wade submitted are very vague. They just mention that he met with White House counsel or met with White House, but doesn't go into any detail as to what the meetings were.
Yeah, so the details, that is what the Republicans at the federal level and the state level in Georgia are currently trying to get about Fani Willis and her alleged misconduct when it comes to handling this case. Okay, we want to know, did she lie on oath? Was there improper use of taxpayer dollars? Okay, when it comes to compensating Nathan Wade and ultimately her benefiting from it with kickbacks, and whether or not there was coordination with the Biden-Harris administration. And the Republicans out in Georgia Senate have tried to subpoena Fani Willis for this information, but she has been refusing to comply, at least up until now, because a judge has ruled that the Georgia State Senate can, in fact, subpoena the Fulton County District Attorney for the documents that they need as a part of the inquiry into her misconduct. Okay, so more devastating news for Fani Willis. She's going to have to provide some transparency. So it seems, which is something that Democrats hate, right? They cannot stand the idea of having to be transparent. So I want to react to this devastating news for Fani Willis. And without further ado, let's get into it.
A judge rules Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis can be subpoenaed by the state Senate. This comes as they continue to investigate possible misconduct during her prosecution of President-elect Donald Trump. Fox 5's Eric Perry is at the live desk on the story. Eric, what is the latest on this development?
Yeah, Christine, this comes just weeks after a state appeals court removed Willis from the Georgia election interference case against President-elect Trump. Now, DA Willis has until January 13th to submit arguments before a final order is ruled. Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis is back in the spotlight after Superior Court Judge Judge Ingram ruled she can face a subpoena by the Georgia State Senate. The Republican-led Senate committee is looking into whether she engaged in misconduct during her prosecution of President-elect Donald Trump.
They are the head of all prosecutions in their county. So therefore, no one should be able to question them, right? Well, the Georgia Senate disagrees with that.
Trial attorney and political analyst Joshua Schiffer breaks down the decision. According to the ruling, Willis has until January 13th to submit arguments over whether the subpoenas require her to provide confidential information. Judge Ingram will then issue a final order saying what Willis has to respond to.
prosecutors are used to strong independence and the exclusive duties and privileges of their position.
Former Georgia Governor.
Yeah, so is this guy arguing that as a prosecutor, she should not be held accountable, right? There should not be anybody that can question her conduct and whether or not she's actually following the law, right? To me, that doesn't make sense. I mean, it would seem as if the politicians, the elected representatives, would be responsible for making sure that she's doing her job correctly. Okay. Now,
let me interject real quick. No, that's not what Joshua Schiffer is saying. And I don't like the way they edited that clip. I'm going to find the long clip so we can hear it. But Joshua Schiffer is saying that generally speaking, prosecutors have not been called on the carpet on their behavior and actions and such like that. So basically he's saying this is some new territory. He's not saying that she should not be held accountable. He's only pointing out that this is new territory for a prosecutor being held accountable like that. Because again, the word of the day is accountability. They haven't been doing that. That's what he's saying.
Here's the thing. If Fani Willis has nothing to hide, if this was all done fairly, I don't understand why she's not complying with the subpoena, right? If everything was done in a way that is completely legal, there's no misconduct here, as she claims, why not just hand over the documents? The fact that she is pushing back so hard against simply just providing the documents that could prove her innocence, it tells you everything you need to know.
Roy Barnes represents Willis in the case and says they want the ruling overturned and they plan to appeal. This also comes after a 2-1 ruling by the State of Appeals Court earlier this month, removing Willis from the Georgia election interference case against President-elect Trump, citing, quote, an appearance of impropriety. Willis's office is asking the Georgia Supreme Court to review that decision. This fight going back months. The Senate committee hoped to question Willis back in September, but she skipped that meeting. The committee turned to Judge Ingram in October, asking for Willis to comply with the subpoenas. Schiffer says, don't expect anything major to happen soon.
What this really does is moves the ball forward to an eventual date where Fani Willis will either have to show up and testify and bring some information.
Yeah, we know there's a lot to keep track of here. And here's something else to keep in mind. The current Georgia legislative term ends when new lawmakers are sworn in for their new term. Republican State Senator Greg Dolezal of Cumming says he plans to file to reestablish this committee at the beginning of the 2025 legislative session. We've reached out to the district attorney's office. We're waiting to hear back. But again, just something else adding on for her office there. At the live.
Yeah, so ultimately, in my opinion, this woman should be in jail. I really think that Fani Willis, the only way I'm going to be completely happy with the end of this story is if she ends up in jail, okay? Facing accountability, because this woman definitely, in my opinion, I believe that she was not truthful about the beginning of her relationship with Nathan Hot Dog Wade, okay? I think everybody knows that. She lied on the oath. And at this point, does lying on the oath really mean anything, right? I mean, I guess people get accused of that all the time, okay? But nothing ever happens, right? Does it actually matter?
Right.
If nothing happens to Fani Willis, does it actually matter? That's the real question. If she's allowed to get away with this, what type of precedent does that set? What type of precedent does it set? That a DA is somebody that should just be allowed to lie on the oath, right? Somebody that we expect to have the utmost of integrity and honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Just saying. I mean, they're going after people. They can take away people's ability to live their lives, right? They can take away people's freedom. So again, this is important. It is important that Fani Willis is held accountable. And it looks as if she is just taking more and more L's. More things are happening that hopefully will lead to that accountability. But we'll see. We still got a long way to go, but this situation with Fani Willis is not over. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share.
Appreciate you, brother.
Perspective. Peace.
Appreciate it. All right. So what do y'all think? I don't know. I don't think she's going to go to jail. Sad to say, but I don't think so. However, we are in a new day where Accountability is happening. People are getting held accountable for shenanigans. People are getting held accountable for doing dumb stuff and stuff that got appeal that they got to pass last year. People have been held accountable. So is it possible? Sure. Is it likely? I don't know about that. I don't know. But what you got? Really? So Kate Pick says the appeal will be ruled on within 6 months. She will be under oath before the 25th. I'm sorry, before 2025 ends. Interesting. Okay. She could lose her bar license or be sanctioned by the bar. I'm going to lean more towards sanctioned by the bar, just as my own little observation. Again, I'm a pre-K law student. I don't know a thing. But I'm going to go with sanctioned by the bar simply because I've spoke to lawyers and they don't think, even though they say it is egregious and it should be, they don't think it's going to happen like that. They just don't have the appetite for it. Let's see. Georgia, got to remember what at the Georgia Supreme Court right now and who has majority. Got you. I like that. Good. K-Pick, thank you so much for good commentary. I love it. I love it. But yeah, man, that's what's going on with Fani. Now, there's another friend of the channel. I'm trying to get her to come on. Her name is Megan Grout. She's a young lady. We watched a lot of her TikToks a couple of weeks back, and she was really crushing it. And I thought she did. Yes, the odor of mendacity is real, my brother. It is real. Now, Megan talked about this as well, and I want to bring it in because I think she gives a really good, intelligent response to this, and she might address some of the things that you all are thinking about. So let's bring her in. Let's bring her in big screen. All right, here we go. Let's go. Let's make that volume loud. Okay, now let's go.
Hey, everybody. I did want to give you a quick update on one of the videos we did last week about Judicial Watch and their lawsuit against the Fulton County District Attorney's Office, specifically our friends Fani Willis and Dexter Q. Bond. So we do have an update. So just to give you a quick backstory, if you don't remember, there was a lawsuit filed by Judicial Watch, which is an organization, to get some records from Fani Willis's office after they denied them their requests through the Open Records Act. This is very similar to what Ashley and John Merchant had to do when they were denied records, also through the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. Both sets of, they're separate and distinct lawsuits, but both of them had to file civil lawsuits against the District Attorney's Office. In the Judicial Watch lawsuit, Fulton County never replied to the lawsuit. So it went into default judgment. And then recently the judge issued an order on that default judgment telling Fani Willis's office that they had to comply within 5 days. So now we have learned that they have gotten a response from Fani Willis's office, but no documents. So Fani Willis's office said, with regard to one category, which was any kind of communications documentation between the district attorney's office and Jack Smith, who is the special prosecutor against the former president in Washington. And we know that case was recently dismissed. The Fulton District Attorney's Office is denying that there are any kind of documents that could be released. So I'm waiting to see whether Judicial Watch has some of that same stuff in their back pocket that Ashley and John Merchant had in theirs, which is to say, hey, we actually got some things from a different source. And so we know that you're not telling the truth because here are some of the documents that we know you have and you didn't release. So we'll be waiting to see whether that happens. The other category that Judicial Watch was looking for would be any communications between the District Attorney's Office and the January 6th committee. And Fani Willis's response was that they didn't have anything that could be considered public documentation that needed to be released. And they cited the Georgia code sections, which say that documents that are for pending investigations and litigation and prosecution don't have to be released. And they cited the case number, which is the former president's prosecution here in Fulton County. So what that tells everybody is it appears that there was some communication between the DA and the January 6th committee, but they're not releasing it because we know that even though right now the case against President Trump here in Fulton County is on pause while we're waiting for the Court of Appeals to rule on the issue of whether Fani Willis's office should be disqualified, that prosecution is still technically pending. So that just shows you maybe there has been some coordination between Fani Willis's office and the January 6th committee. And I do want to make something else clear. Let me just tell you one more thing really quick. There is also another date coming up, December 20th, which is where the judge had noted that that would be a time to discuss whether or not Judicial Watch should receive attorney's fees for having to file this lawsuit to get Fani Willis's office to respond appropriately. And we are also still waiting for Judge Krause in the merchant lawsuit on open records to issue her final ruling, even though we know that she is going to rule in favor of the merchants. We're waiting to see whether Fani Willis's office is going to have to pay attorney's fees to the merchants as well. And so what I also wanted to say, just because I've seen some of the comments go by, is my purpose here on TikTok with regard to these videos with the district attorney's office is not to lift up the former president or put down the former president. I know there are plenty of places on TikTok, thousands of them actually, where you can go for that kind of content. I am trying to focus more on what is happening here in Fulton County with regard to the questions of some behavior and spending in the district attorney's office, the jail, how the people of Fulton County have been mistreated, and try to see if we can have some positive changes there. So I'm not super interested in weighing into national politics. I will tell you, of course, because there is this interwoven connection that we found between the YSL case and potentially the former president's case. Yes, we have to talk about it, and with open records, like with Judicial Watch. But I'm here to just try to unwind this knot. I'm not trying to advance a particular national political position. So I don't mind if people debate in my comments as long as it's civil. But if it gets nasty or racist or anything like that, I'm just going to delete and block you because I don't like that stuff. So that's it. And I will keep you updated.
All right. So I thought that was good. I thought she was giving us a good background on some other cases, and we'll keep checking in with Megan. Maybe we can get Megan to come on. That would be fun. I'd love to have her come on. She seems like a great legal mind. So I'm gonna keep putting the ask out there. We'll see what happens. But there's just so many things going wrong with this Fani Willis case, and things centered around, orbiting around Fani Willis, that you got to start thinking like a lot of this is her own doing. Again, the word of the day: self-reflection, self-regulation, accountability. If she was just thinking about being accountable, like, I'm not being accountable. Well, if she was being accountable, she wouldn't have been in a relationship with a married man. Shots fired. Even more than that, along with that, rather, if she were being accountable, she would have recognized that she doesn't need to be in this position and role because she impedes it in some degree, shape, or form. Another way around it. So what do y'all have a blessed Lord's Day tomorrow. Go worship the Lord with your families, hang out with your peeps, all that kind of good stuff. And until next time, everybody, grace and peace. See you soon.
Hit that like for a deal with Christian. Yo, for a deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for a deal with Christian. For a deal with Christian. Smash that bell for DWC. Yo, smash it. Just smash it. Hit that like for a deal with Christian.